Um, all right, let's do it. Let's just get into this stuff. I'd like to begin our um, our fantastic NAC meetup here, August 30th. We'll probably talk about an hour, but I do want to introduce officially our guest. We have Rachel Bell with us from Shingle House, Pennsylvania. And I'm just going to read off Rachel's bio here. Rachel Bell is an accordion player, tunesmith, and music teacher from the wilds of Pennsylvania. I love the tunesmith thing. She is in demand throughout the United States and beyond for concerts. I have contra dances. Is that the thing? It's not supposed to be country dances, is it?
No, the country dances.
Okay. English country dances. We'll have to go back and talk about what that is. French dances and workshops. Over a decade of musical travel has landed her smack dab in the middle of some of her most exciting projects ever. A vibrant and versatile collaboration with Karen Axelrod, who is joining us today. Exquisite violin and viola sounds from Eric Martin. A rich and energetic contra dance band called Seaglass. A slew of French-focused music and dance adventures with Susan Kevra are just the tip of the iceberg. A recent addition has been a joyful musical partnership with Becky Tracy, and other combinations often round out the mix. In addition to a busy performance schedule, Rachel also offers creative, hands-on music classes for children from birth through the teenage years. So I'd like to welcome you, Rachel. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thanks for having me.
I'm very excited. I have all kinds of stuff that I want to ask you about, but I do always like to start off with just with hearing a tune. So if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. So I'll play a waltz that I wrote. This is a waltz that I wrote for my friend Susan Kevra, and it's called Le Voyage de la Diabline, named after some time that I spent in France with her in a town called Aix-en-Provence, where you can get on something called a diabline, which is like basically a souped up golf cart, and you pay your 50 cents, and the golf cart takes you around town through all these beautiful pedestrian areas and around the fountains. And so I have beautiful memories of that first trip on the diabline when I arrived in Aix-en-Provence, and that was part of what inspired this tune.
All right. Thank you, Rachel. That was fantastic. You know, I really like, just from hearing you play the first time, I really, I certainly think that in the accordion world, there's a lot of emphasis on, like, you know, chops and playing a lot of, like, technically, you know, fantastic stuff. And I think that people forget about how much technique is involved in just playing a beautiful piece of music, something that has like character and feeling, and artistry, and I really, even from the first couple videos you sent, was just like, this is music. You know, this is fantastic to hear somebody playing with just great compositions, but also you have a fantastic way of like of creating expression on the instrument. And I'm saying that even like not hearing the best audio from my through the internet. So I'm really excited to get the Zoom the audio recordings and link this up, and even feel even better about what I'm hearing. But it is so great, and I know that you do have chops too, because I've heard you play technical stuff. But I do, it's like, you know, it's easy to get caught up, especially in any musical field, but like it seems that the accordion has this whole like obsession with ultra fast notes,
I play, yeah.
dizzy fingers, and la tempête, and I think we all, you know, have at least I do, you know, like a little bit of a soft spot for that too. I do like some fireworks, but to me, there's not enough people who just focus more on creating a beautiful melody, a beautiful piece of music, and so I really, really appreciate that. I guess I want to start off talking about, you know, like what your musical journey has been like. Did you start off playing the accordion? Did you start off playing other instruments? How did you kind of find the accordion, and what's that experience been like for you?
Well, I was actually playing classical piano quite seriously, to the point of getting a master's degree in performance on piano. And as I was in the midst of that, I was like dabbling in other instruments. I got really serious about bagpipes for a while, and I was playing like Irish whistles and dulcimers and all kinds of things. So I was interested in music from other cultures, and specifically in French music. And so I was actually at a flute lesson, a classical flute lesson, because I was also working on a music ed degree, and my flute teacher just handed me an accordion one day. She happened to be an accordion player. She had this accordion sitting in her house. She knew I was interested in like French music and things like that, and so she just like handed me this accordion and said, "Here, take this home for a couple of weeks." And I was like, "No, I don't want that." I had no interest, but I took it home and I fell in love with it. And I think, you know, I think the thing that got me is like this instrument is it's something that you get to like strap on your body, and it's a wind instrument, so you really get to like feel it breathe and feel the vibrations. And so I really fell in love with that, and also with the versatility of the instrument and being able to play many different genres, and you know, any key and all of that.
Fantastic. So how long have you been playing now?
How long have I been playing? That's a hard question. Like 14 years, maybe, something like that.
Excellent. And did you find the transition from playing piano to accordion challenging, unique? I mean, what were the things that... Because I know as a piano player, I grew up playing piano and found the accordion a little bit later. And there are still habits that I think are difficult to break, you know, the idea of... The piano is a percussion instrument, you know, like in that the way that you hit it, and the sustaining of notes is just a whole different ball game. And so I still find myself wanting to play louder and thinking that I have to hit the keyboard harder. Yeah, and it's really not the case, you know. It's like a lesson that some habits that are hard to break. Do you find anything like that? I mean...
Well, I think that sometimes people do assume that it's just a piano, like you just pick it up and play it like a piano. And in some ways that's true. It certainly helped having piano chops for my right hand and having an understanding of fingering especially. But but the bellows control and the airflow, that's just a whole different ballgame. And so that's taken a long time. I mean, I feel like I every couple of months I have like this time of thinking, I don't know how to do anything with the bellows, and I have to relearn, you know, some new thing will bother me about bellows control, and I have to kind of jump back in and work on that again. And of course the left hand is completely different, and so I spent a few years kind of avoiding the left hand, and then started learning the basics, and then got inspired to see how many different things besides boom chuck you can do with the left hand. So that's been super fun and completely different than piano.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a whole nother animal.
Yeah.
So let's see here. I do want to. I guess I should. We did talk a little bit about your accordion. That's like a nice thing to get out of the way. We did. I wasn't recording that. We hadn't started officially. So people who weren't there, Rachel is playing on a Beltuna Prestige, right? 37 key.
Yep.
You said it was 96 bass or?
6 basses, yeah.
96 bass, LMMH, really light musette. I believe that last tune you were playing was using 2 middles. Is that right?
Right.
Yeah, it sounded great. I love that really light, very light musette. It's really nice.
Yeah, that was what I was looking for when I bought this.
And did you get that from Liberty Bellows?
So I got it through Castiglione.
Okay.
Near Detroit.
Oh, cool.
And
I had been playing an Excelsior, which I loved. I loved like the single reed sound of the Excelsior, and there were a lot of things that I loved about it, but the balance was really awful. And so as I was developing my left hand, it was becoming a problem because my right hand would always disappear under the sound of the left hand. So I went to Castiglione and sat in the warehouse for almost a whole day playing one accordion after another, and I fell in love with the Beltuna because of the balance and because of the way it felt, and the sounds, and I loved the sensitivity of particularly the bass side. You can just wiggle your hand and the reeds will speak. So it responds really well.
Excellent. I would like to talk a little bit about a couple of other things, some teaching stuff. I'd like to ask you about your creative works and some of the stuff that you're involved in right now. But would you mind playing another tune for us?
Sure. Well, so maybe I'll play a couple of little French tunes. One project that I enjoy is kind of digging around through different archives and listening to old recordings and finding old French tunes that are fun to reinvent or to see like what kinds of different things I can do with them, and ultimately to play them for dancing. So this is these are a couple tunes that I found just in an online archive of French dance music.
Dig it. Dig
I
it.
wish that Karen Axelrod was here in person to play that with me instead of being on the screen.
Yeah, you know, it's one of the things that we're sort of I think, going to try to do in the future is to try to make these, well, a couple things. Certainly to have different variety of, like, you know, it could be a duo or not just one person, but also I would really love to be there in person. Then it'd be so much easier. We could just record the whole thing.
Yeah.
Everything would sound great, and we wouldn't have to be like doing everything like through the screen. But one of these days, you know, the knack will find some, you know, billionaire donor, some kind of patron who will just pay for all of these amazing things. Yeah, I'll just jet set, you know, and just be like doing interviews, and that's my dream.
Yeah.
That's my dream, is to travel the world, interviewing and meeting and playing with accordionists.
That sounds like a good life, yeah.
Oh man, wouldn't it be though? That would be fantastic. So tunesmith, we talked about, I mean, obviously we played a tune that you wrote. And I meant to ask you, contra dance. What are we talking about here? I noticed a lot of the music you play is really dancey, folky, but a little bit traditional. Although the tune that you recorded and sent to the YouTube, Beat Hummus, sounded like it was sort of like it was certainly like had elements of traditional music and some of these dance styles that you do, but it had some new things in it too that were really interesting. So let's first just answer the question for me, because I'm sure other people know, but I don't. What are we talking about? Contra dance.
Yeah. So contra dancing is a form of social dance. It has roots in Irish dancing and English dancing. But it really started in New England, and it's you go either with or without a partner. You end up dancing with tons of different people. It's usually set up in long lines or in circles, and so you'll get a partner for that particular dance, and you'll move through the lines with your partner so that you end up dancing with many other people in the line, and then you get another partner for the next dance. There's a caller who tells you everything to do, so it's really fun because you can show up having never danced before, and they'll just tell you what to do. It's just a walking step, and there's usually live music, and it is fun, like all those things you mentioned about traditional elements mixed in with new ideas. That's, I think, one of the most fun things about contra dancing. Both the dancing itself and the music. And as a contra dance musician, I often, like, we draw on traditional Irish tunes and traditional Scottish repertoire and Quebecois repertoire and Appalachian tunes and tunes from New England, but then we also write our own material, and we pull in tunes from completely different worlds musically to fit into the dance. So this is really fun mix of ideas from all over the place, and old along with new.
And is there like improvisation involved? I know, like with a lot of folk jams, there's a stylistic element of improvising where, you know, you improvise around the melody and you have all of these. I mean, it's not like improvising in jazz certainly does that too, but
Right.
it seems like, and I have a few friends who are into folk music and banjo players and fiddle players, and there's like a different tradition of improvising that occurs in some of these folk music styles. Is similar stuff that you guys do in these contra dance parties?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the things that's really fun is a dance will go on, like one single dance will go on for maybe 10 minutes, and you might play a medley of 3 tunes, but that's actually a long time to play those tunes, and so you have all this time. Usually you start with a concept, like some pieces of arrangements or some ideas about the texture, but then a lot of it is just communicating with your bandmates and improvising and feeling the energy in the room. There's this amazing exchange of energy between musicians and dancers and musicians in the collar, and so it can take lots of different directions, and there's also a really wide range of how people play this music. So there are bands that play in a really traditional style and basically play the old tunes and pretty much stick with the melody. And then there are bands that go way out, and there's all kinds of new interesting things happening. Like there are techno contras now, and rock and roll contras, and all kinds of things. So there's a lot of creativity.
Excellent. Is this? I had a question from, I think it was Steve. Let me just double check again. It was not that. Hold on, wrong button. Yeah, from Steve. He was wondering if there's if there's any similarities or parallels to like square dances.
Yeah. Yep. Very similar. It's the format is a little bit different, and the style is a little bit different. But if you envision people going to a dance and hearing a caller and knowing what to do from what the caller is saying, and definitely a social dance atmosphere, that's all very similar.
Excellent. There's another NAC member who is into a lot of this folk music and but also does a lot of different projects too, and his name is Sam Reeder. Do you know him?
I don't.
He's living in New York, and he has a couple of fantastic projects. You guys should definitely talk to each other, because he's always...
Yep.
He had mentioned to me that, you know, the accordion in this sort of folk music style is really underrepresented, that it's really more of like the fiddle and of course and like the mandolin and the banjo, but that there's a whole other element there for accordion players to get involved, and I think you guys should connect for sure. It's a knack thing. So I asked you about the contra dance. Let's talk about some of your... I mean, this music, is this really popular stuff in the areas that you live, or how did you get involved into some of these folk music styles? Is it I know you live out in Shingle House, so it's like far away from some of the big cities, and I think, is this part of the culture out there?
Not so much here. There's a little bit, but I heard Irish music and I heard French music and I loved the music. And then there were some people around here who invited me to play at a contra dance here. So I did have like that early exposure to the dance form, but now I mostly end up traveling to get to contra dances to play, and they're all over. Once you know to look for them, they're kind of everywhere. There's a lot of contra dancing in New England. It's really popular there. And there's a bunch like in North Carolina. There's a huge dance in Washington, D.C. And there's a bunch on the West Coast. And pretty much every major city, if you look up contra dancing, you will find some.
Excellent. And so is this, I mean, this is your primary focus, is like dance music and collaborative works with other musicians? I mean, this is your job, this is your specialty. Am I wrong? Or
Yeah, pretty much. I do a bunch of different kinds of things because that's kind of necessary to make a living, but and because I love it. Like, I love having all the different kinds of projects. So I play for lots of contra dances. There are big contra dance weekends that happen all over the country where you get to one place and you just play all weekend. So that's really great. And then I play a bunch for English country dancing, which is a little different, and for French dancing. And then I love playing concerts, and I've been doing more and more of that. And then like workshops in conjunction with the concerts. And I do a little bit of teaching here and there, like private lessons and workshops and some classes. So it's just kind of a hodgepodge of stuff all stuck together. But I'd say that the concept of dance music is definitely at the center. Because even when I'm playing a concert, a lot of my concert material is based on dance music.
it's the best kind of music, I think. all the best music seems like it's dance music. I mean, I'm biased, but I want to talk about your teaching too. I'd like to get into that, and I'm sort of like a little bit my like schedule for this interview is a little bit thrown off because I'm trying to make it an hour instead of an hour and a half in hopes that people will stay tuned.
You're all stuck here for the next 3 hours.
Right.
Talk about a
Yeah, once you log on, we have control over your computer. You can't even exit out the window. I control everything. I'm the man behind the curtain. So let's do another tune, and then we'll talk about your teaching and some of the experiences you have with that. I'm really curious to ask them. I think that our members are really interested in education too, and really could benefit from your perspectives.
Yeah, so I'll play a waltz for you. This is a really different style waltz than the first one I played. This is has more of a like Parisian musette style to it. And this tune is called Poirot's Pie. I wrote this a number of years ago. Actually, I was sitting right here in this room, and I have this cousin who lives a few blocks away. And she often wanders over in the middle of the night. Like, she'll show up at my house at midnight in her bathrobe and her trench coat with, like, a turban on her head and her slippers. And she's a writer, so she sits in one corner of this room in her bathrobe and her trench coat and writes her murder mysteries. And I sit in the other corner writing tunes. So it's a great creative exchange. And it works out really well because I can ask her, like, what to name these tunes, and she can ask me, like, how to kill off the next character in whatever murder mystery it is that she's writing. So I had written this tune, and she was up here writing, and she just collapsed in giggles when she heard this tune. It just, like, got to her. So I asked her to name this tune, and she named it Poirot's Pie, after the mystery series Poirot. So hopefully it will conjure up some thoughts of, like, detective mystery type things.
Yeah. Thank you, Rachel. Loved it. I really enjoyed that. I think Marcy just had to leave, but she said no hard feelings. Really enjoying it. I had Ron ask if that song was available on sheet music. If you have any sheet music of that.
I do. I don't have. I mean, I one of the things I need to do. This is on my to-do list is to figure out how to make a tune book. But people can contact me.
All right, Ron, you got your answer. Just give Rachel a shout. And then I think we also have a link to your website on our NAC page for the event. So, Ron, you can find that there, and I assume that there your contact info is there as well.
Yeah.
Excellent. Right on, right on. Yeah, I really enjoy the way that your it seems like all the tunes that you have like invoke a lot of imagery, and that it's like there's like visual and like feeling involved in the music, and it doesn't always happen. I think the best stuff does, but sometimes not so much. Sometimes it's more about just like an attitude or a vibe. But I think that it seems like the stuff that you do is just so like creatively involved, and it's great to hear, and it sounds like a blast too. Like I want to be writing music with somebody writing like a storyline. That just sounds like a great time. So let's talk about your teaching. It said that in your bio, it said that you teach mostly like youth, right? Is that kids and teens, and how come, and is that something that you just fell into, or?
Well, I teach adults as well as part of like touring. A lot of times I'll do workshops in how to play a French tune or how to play as an ensemble for dancing. But I actually taught public school music for 6 years full time, and before that I taught music at a Montessori school. So I have this educational background that has led into some really fun things as part of the freelance career. And so I have this whole like room of instruments at my house that often ride around in my car with me. So I have 20 lap dulcimers, and 15 ukuleles and 25 purple tambourines and drums and shakers and all kinds of stuff. And so I run a lot of community music classes in between tours. And I'd say probably my favorite of all those endeavors is my early childhood program. So 0 to 5-year-olds come with their moms and dads and caregivers, and we sing and dance and play tons of instruments, and it's like the most adorable thing ever. So it's a really fun part of this whole picture.
And do you play accordion for them too?
I do, yeah.
Awesome.
Good. Like early brainwashing is good, you know.
I was gonna say same.
Children that they like accordion, it's a good thing.
Absolutely, I agree. I'm all about it. Like, get them while they're young. You know, like get them hooked. Yeah. They're gonna be into it forever. They're gonna be like, I remember when I was some of my earliest memories watching this fantastic, nice lady play accordion while I played the purple tambourine. And we just had the greatest time. It's gonna be like all kinds of positive.
They get really animated when I play accordion, and you know they always like I have a little one, so I can dance around with them while I'm playing, and they like to touch it, and they get really excited when I pull it out. So it's pretty fun.
It's amazing, you know. I think that a lot of times in this like accordion communities, you know, there was a time when the accordion was really stigmatized, and I think there's a little bit of that holdover, but really not as much as you think, especially talking to some of the adults who played when they were younger. I think that their perception is still that it's like this instrument that people don't like, and there's all these old accordion jokes and all this stuff. But you know, I would say like 99% of all the people that I've ever played for, it's really been overwhelmingly positive, and especially for young people doing presentations at high schools, Like people just don't have that. They're genuinely interested. They don't look at it and think this is a polka machine. They don't look at it and think this is a nerd instrument. They look at it with the same kind of awe and interest as just about anything else. And I think that it's really cool to see that. And I think it for players like you, it's this great opportunity to just to shape the future of what this instrument does and is. And I think that that's a perspective a lot of us at the NAC. So it's really cool. So I think it's excellent.
Teaching people to love accordion. It's a good mission.
I think so too, I wish that I had started when I was younger, although I never had any bad vibes towards it. It was just didn't have one around. So, do you have private accordion students?
I end up spending more time teaching private piano than accordion, but I do have a few people who don't live around here, but who have gotten in touch for accordion lessons. And so, I taught an accordion lesson the other day when I was on the road for a gig and was in the town of this person who's learning, and I've occasionally done Skype accordion lessons. And once in a while, someone around here will get into it, but it's not super common here. So I end up teaching more accordion at camps. There's a week-long summer camp in the Catskills called Ashokan Fiddle and Dance Camp.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that one. I really want to check it out.
It's so great, and it's been a huge part of my life and has shaped my musical sense in so many ways. And I've been lucky enough to teach there for the past bunch of years, and so that's a big I spend a week there every summer, pretty much teaching a lot of accordion. So I would say that teaching accordion students is not quite as regular as my piano students who show up every week when I'm home, but it definitely happens kind of all over the place in between things.
That's excellent. Yeah, one of our NAC board members, Charlie Schuler, was just talking to, I don't remember who it was that runs part of the Ashokan camp, and they said that they were wanting or there was some interest in getting an accordion teacher for their Western swing component of that camp. And I am a huge Western swing fan, and so I was like, please let me go. I want to teach there. Somebody let me teach there, please.
You should do. It's really fun.
I would just be so delighted. We'll see how that pans out. Are you on the road a lot? Is that your? Are you frequently traveling? Is that more common than not?
Yeah. Probably 75% of the time I'm on the road.
Cool. Driving, flying.
Some of both. A lot of driving, but some flying too.
All right. Love it. Well, I want to talk a little bit about some of your creative stuff and your recordings, but it'd be great to hear another tune if you don't mind.
Sure, yeah. Okay, let's see. I was thinking of playing, another style of dancing that I play for is English country dancing. And it's a little different from contra, but it has some similarities. If you've ever seen a Jane Austen movie, the dancing that you see there is similar, and it's unique in that there are very specific tunes tied to each dance. Whereas in contra, you can play, as long as it works for the dance, you can play anything, really. But for English country dancing, there are specific tunes tied to specific dances, and there are lots from the 1700s. But then there's this whole new body of work being written, new compositions, and so I've been composing tunes in that style because I play for it all the time. So that that sound is in my head, and I love that sound. And so I've been composing these English country dance style tunes. And then my friend Susan Kevra, who I mentioned earlier, she's actually been writing new choreography to go with the tunes. so that we release these out into the world, and then people are dancing her choreography to these tunes. So these are two samples called Bora Dingo Oasis and Duck Duck Go.
There we go. Sorry, I'm trying to unmute myself here. Oh gosh, I muted myself. There we go. Hey, sorry, I was trying to unmute myself.
You know, I didn't hear him.
That was fantastic. I really like those tunes. They're just great songs. Just really fun music to listen to, and I don't know what it is about that stuff that really just it makes you feel good. Of course, that's what it's for.
Okay.
So one of the things that I just hear you saying a lot, or just hearing from you answering these questions, or the tunes that you play and the stuff that you do, it seems like you're just constantly collaborating. Is that a big part of what you do?
Yeah. It's the thing that makes me so happy about playing. I mean, I don't know if I would do it if it wasn't for the ensemble part of it, because I just love that collaboration, and it's so inspiring to hear what my bandmates do, and to listen to their musical ideas, and then be able to respond to those ideas, and even have this kind of improvisation that's collective, that's happening all together at the same time while we're playing. I find that totally inspiring. And I love working with different textures and seeing how many sounds can we create with just a piano and an accordion. Like, how many different things can we do with that combination, or how many different kinds of things can we do with a fiddle and an accordion. So I get really excited about that kind of thing.
I love it. I think that there is a lot of emphasis placed on solo accordion repertoire, for a number of reasons. The capability of the instrument. I mean, it's similarly to the piano. The piano it's like a standalone instrument, and the accordion being sort of the band in the box.
Right, you can do, yeah, it's true. You can do a lot just with an accordion all by itself.
But for me personally, I think that the emphasis really needs to be on collaboration. I was just at Katati Accordion Festival up just north of San Francisco 2 weekends ago, and it was so great. I mean, there was a lot of fantastic performers, soloists, but what I think really gets the majority of people excited is are the bands. There's like Norteño band. There was Encanto, this Brazilian forró band, Brazilian folk band, and all kinds of different stuff that was just really. The Mad Maggies were there. The group that Skylar Fell is in, I don't remember what the group's name is, but just a lot of awesome collaboration. And for me personally, being in a lot of bands, playing jazz and New Orleans music and some sort of folk rock stuff, I think that's really the way, if we're talking about ways to sort of elevate the perception of the accordion. I think that in general, most people who are accordionists and who are really devoted to the instrument do like the idea of solo stuff, but most of the regular population, they want to see first and foremost great music, and typically that is like a band, and they want to see that collaboration. They want to see that dynamic between the musicians. And they don't necessarily have so much, they don't care too much about just seeing some ripping accordion player. They're looking to see an awesome performance with a great group where all the instruments are interacting with each other in a way that's first and foremost serving the music, whether they know it or not. I think it's all about that kind of dynamic, and I just encourage all of our members who are watching or who will ever watch this video to go out and find friends that play, and even if it's not perfect, to go in there and just see that what happens when you involve another musician in your type of play, because you get different ideas. Yeah, I think it's especially inspiring, and I can tell from the way that you talk about it how much it means to you. I think it's really exciting. Do you co-write with people too?
Sometimes, but more often, the style of music that I usually write, I just come up with the melody and a sketch of the chords. And so, actually, one of my favorite things about playing in ensembles is watching these bandmates of mine take this music and just bring it to life. Just a melody line that was in my head, all of a sudden it comes alive with all these different sounds. And my friend Karen Axelrod, who is there somewhere on the screen, I think, when we first started playing together, I had this drawer full of tunes that had just been kind of sitting around for 6 years. And we were playing through stuff, and I just said, well, I don't know if this is any good. I don't know. And she took these tunes, and I feel like she just breathed life into them. So that happens a lot, where it's not that we're exactly co-writing the tunes, but I start out with something very simple, just like this melody line, an idea of the chords, and then the rest of the band really fills it out and creates the rest of the parts.
Absolutely. It just kind of happens on its own.
Yeah.
That's the best stuff, I think. How about recordings? Like, what do you got out there? What First of all, what do you got, and where can we get it?
So I released a solo album a little over a year ago, and it's solo in that it features my accordion and compositions, but it also has tons of guest musicians on it. So it's all like accordion is the centerpiece, but there's piano and guitar and clarinet and a little bit of singing and fiddle, and it kind of runs the gamut from like beautiful sparkly waltzes to fiery Celtic music to like that Poirot's Pie that I played earlier is on there. And so that is called Tone Chamber, and that's available on my website and also on CD Baby. And then I'm currently working on an EP with an amazing fiddler from Brattleboro, Vermont, Becky Tracy, and we are 3 tracks in, and we have just 2 more tracks to go, and then we'll be releasing, hopefully sometime this fall, we'll be releasing our EP, and that information will be all on my website.
Excellent, excellent. You coming through Arizona anytime?
Not at the moment. I wish I wish we were. Maybe sometime. It's not on the calendar yet, though.
Wait till November when it cools down. It's a little bit too brutal out here right now. It's a little hot. I think I've just about covered. I think I got everything, and we're getting close to the hour. I think maybe another tune to kind of close us out, and then we'll just kind of wrap everything up after that.
Sounds good.
Cool.
So I'll play a couple of last tunes with a disclaimer that as we were just talking about, I'm really focused on the ensemble thing and not so much a solo performer. So I'm used to having piano with me on this, but I'll give it my best shot. These are tunes that I wrote. The first tune is a tune that I wrote because I am traveling a lot, and I accidentally leave my socks behind a lot at various bandmates' houses. So I leave this like trail of socks everywhere I go, and one day one of my bandmates just got sick of always finding my socks on the floor, and so she wrote me a message and said, "I have your socks and I'm holding them hostage, and you have to write a tune to get them back." So I actually wrote 3 tunes. I must have really liked those socks. I wrote Give Me My Socks Back, and Give Me My Socks Back Now, and this tune, which is called Ransom Note. And apparently Ransom Note worked because I got my socks back. And I don't know what happened to the socks, but the tune has stuck around. And then the second tune is called Sand Mountain, and I wrote it after being really inspired when I saw the Sleeping Bear Dunes in Michigan. Big giant piles of sand.
like that one. I liked them all, but that was very nice. Thank you, Rachel. It's been such a pleasure having you. I have really enjoyed your creative insight. I think you're just a fantastic musician. I was so excited to have you and so happy that you were able to make time for us at the NAC.
Thanks for inviting me. I'm excited about what you guys are doing. I think this is a really neat way for all of us to be connected and meet each other and find out about opportunities. I think it's really cool that this exists.
Well, we do too, and we hope that at some point here we'll be able to do some things where we're able to meet up in person, whether it's holding a festival or some different types of like in-person meetups, or we don't know yet, but we got a lot of ideas cooking.
That's great.
And it's still new. It's we've only been around for a few months here, so we're still learning and we're trying to figure everything out. But we do have a great team of people. And
it's exciting.
Yeah, it's really been a pleasure to have you. I want to remind everybody that before we go, if you haven't already submitted, we are still doing. We opened up the submissions for video performances on our YouTube page. I think we've done that. We've been about a week and a half, so we'll have another week and a half of submissions. If you haven't submitted yet, please do. I think, Ron, I got your video. And if there's anybody else that you know who is a NAC member who's thinking about submitting a video but maybe on the fence, please do. Rachel, if you would like to submit another one, I'm sure everybody would love to hear more of your stuff. Unless anybody has any other questions, anybody out there? I see Zelda said thanks. Ron said thanks, Dallas, even though I forgot to tell everybody I'm on Dallas's account, but I'm actually Gabe. I am not Dallas, but Dallas is out of town, and our account is through our pro account is through Dallas's stuff. So, yeah. Thanks again, everybody. It's been a real pleasure. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Stick around. We're gonna have we'll have the YouTube stuff. I shouldn't say stick around. Keep your eyes peeled for the YouTube video. I'm gonna be out of town playing at the Big Squeeze Accordion Festival in Port Townsend this weekend. So it'll probably be another week or so before I get the videos edited for this particular interview. But keep your eyes peeled, and thanks again so much, Rachel. And I hope
Thank you for coming, everybody.
And I hope that we keep in touch, and hopefully we'll get to meet up together sometime and play some tunes. You can teach me some stuff.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Rachel. See you, everybody. Bye.
Bye.